All right, we're doing our Asvab math content knowledge test. This is the practice test to get you ready for the real Asvab. So there are 2 questions in this video. We're going to be doing a total of 15 videos, and there's 30 questions total for this section. There's also 15 videos for the arithmetic content knowledge as well. Those will be done in different videos, so you'll see all 30 videos to get you ready and prepped for that test. So here we go. A teacher is accompanying her students on a trip to the museum. She wanted to be certain that she kept track of all the students during the trip, and she counted the students by the color of the coats they were wearing. One half of the students wore black, 1/6 wore red, 1/4 wore blue, and the remaining 2 wore green. So we know how many there were that were green. We're looking to know how many students were on that trip. So our options here are either A, 12, B, 24, C is 36, or D, which is 48. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got. So 1/2 of the students, 1/2 or 1/2 students wore the black. We had 1/6 wore red, so 1/6 of the students wore red. We had 1/4 wearing blue, and then we had just 2 students. So we know how many there are for a total of however many students. So this is what we've got going on here for this problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by just focusing on the common denominators, because we want to get this situated so that we can figure this out. So what we're going to want to do is find the lowest common denominator, which in this case would be the 12ths. So we would kind of figure out how many 12ths each of these will have to be, and then we can figure out how many students there were total. So the only 3 we need to really focus on here at this point are the 3 that we don't know, because we do know that there's 2 students here. So in order for me to get to 12ths from half, we need to multiply 6 times 2 to get 12. So we also have to multiply the numerator by that as well. So 6 times 1 will give me 6 12ths. Then here, to get from 6 to 12, we need to multiply by 2. So we'll multiply the numerator by 2 as well. 2 times 1 is 2. Then we're going to do the same thing over here with the 4ths. So 4 times 3 would give me 12. So I need to multiply the top by by 3. And then that gives me a total of 6 plus 2, which is 8, plus 3, which is going to be 11. So that means out of the students that have coats that are not, we don't know how many there are 11 12ths of them that are wearing all these other coats, which has to mean that the 2 remaining ones that are wearing a green coat, those have to total up to be only 1/12, because we have to have, obviously 12 12ths would be the whole thing. So that would give me how many students I would have. Now, if I want to try to solve this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 1/12 of the students. We know how many there actually are, so we're able to solve this problem. So we're going to say that there's 2 students, 1/12 of the students there are, which equals 2 kids, is going to help me with figuring out how many there are. So in order for me to get the s by itself, we need to multiply it by its reciprocal, which would be times 12. We do times 12 over here. Those are going to cancel, leave me with 1s is equal to 2 times 12, or 24 students. Now, obviously, that's just one way you can do that, but we can certainly back solve if we needed to do that, if you felt more comfortable with that. But that is just one way that you're able to solve this question. And now we're going to move on to the next one, which hopefully is a little bit easier and a little quicker. Which of the following equations describes a straight line on a standard coordinate plane? Well, taking a look at these options, normally we know that y equals mx plus b is a straight line. So when we're looking at this, we see 2 choices that have a y equals on them. So I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of insight on these. So starting with the bottom, we're actually going to go to the bottom. Anytime you see an x squared, that means that's a quadratic function. Those are U-shaped graphs. Those are symmetrical graphs, so they're not straight. They look kind of like, I'm going to just draw a picture so you can kind of see what these look like. So anything that looks like that. So D is definitely not an option. Now, if you look at C, y equals mx plus b, there's only 2 variables in there. Coordinate planes, when we're looking at a standard coordinate plane, standard coordinate planes don't have 3 variables. They only have 2 variables. So that one's out automatically because there's 3 variables there. So that obviously leaves me with those last 2. And you might be tempted to go with B because you see a Y, you see an X, and that's all fine and good. The problem is with that X being in the denominator, that's a problem. If X was in the numerator, it would be fine. But since it's not, what we have is a graph that I'll show you kind of what it looks like before we move to the correct answer, which is A. X is equal to 3. And so if you want to look at kind of what a graph is going to look like that has an X in the denominator, and this is just what that particular graph looks like, you can see that it ends up with this really weird curved thing. It's not a linear graph. So the correct answer is going to be that answer A. And what that looks like is it is a straight line, and it doesn't have y equals, and that's because it doesn't cross the y-axis. It is a vertical line, and it looks like this. So if you want more questions like this, you can find them on my YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, YouWantAlgebra. All these are going to be located in the Asvab playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and follow for more.